Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check these headlines out this morning. BlackRock on Bitcoin price. Then we got Gary Gensler talking remediation, and there's proof that Gary Gensler knew well in advance, long time ago, that ETH was in fact an ICO, his words. And we're also going to look at don't look now, but here we come with global and international regulation recommends from FATF. We're going to get into that. Andreessen Horowitz to the rescue for U.S. regulations? Say it isn't so. Tom Emmer lays out exactly what's going on with Gary Gensler and his plan for the SEC. Jeremy Hogan has a great observation on the latest when it comes to the case news. And we're also going to ask a very, very serious question here. Could we see a settlement or the case dropped based on a very important upcoming motion? Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at BackUpBradleyAbove and everything that we're talking about here today. $2.398 trillion market cap. Let's call it 2.4, ladies and gentlemen. We're up over 5% for the crypto market cap. We are 100 billion away from the all-time high. 2.5 is where we were. Told you, we creep back up and you almost don't see it if you're not really paying attention here. Bitcoin now over 57,000 this morning. Ethereum over 3,700 and Cardano at 219. We see XRP at $1.14. We have pretty much just shy of 4% gains on the 24-hour and 4.78 on the 7-day. So you see most of that has been in the last few hours. Looking at the range of XRP this morning, we see the low end is at $1.806 and the high end is at 114.53. We're now at 113. We were 114 minutes ago. So it's alive and moving around. We'll see if it gets out for a jog later today. Listen, I want to remind you of this. Link to upcoming October 19th at 9 a.m. Pacific time for this NFT event. We are sure to learn so much more, and we have some surprise guests. So you're going to want to tune in to the Global Investor Conference that is coming up. It is going to be really, really cool. Make sure you check that out and sign up. All right, look here. This is a reminder. You got 2 days left if you filed for a tax extension. Crypto Taxes. Clinton Donnelly is the one to help you out at Crypto Tax Fixer on Twitter or Donnelly Tax Law. Just click the link in the description below to get more information. Looking right here, We'd Say When gives us a reminder here that we're getting a lot of questions and remarks and complaints, even from people who lost funds by buying scam tokens, crappy tokens newly issued on the XRP ledger. He says, I know most people don't read the warning, so here's the video message. Look, I'm not going to have to play it for you, but he just simply tells you, just because a token's on the ledger doesn't mean that it's legit. There's lots of people out here doing bad things. There's bad actors everywhere. Now, there is, if you go into the app, there is a list of vetted tokens and projects that have been cleared by developers and the development team. But that doesn't mean anything that isn't is a scam. It just means that you need to be extra careful with your due diligence to know what you're actually buying. Be very careful out there, and I appreciate We'd Say When for that. All right, let's take a look right here. I'm probably more on the Jamie Dimon camp, says Larry Fink on crypto. Let's let him tell it when it comes to crypto.
Go without mentioning the word crypto. We do talk to you about it, and we've talked to you about it over the years. But it continues, as you know, to grow both in terms of size and scale. You're seeing more and more financial services companies develop and create platforms for it. There's continued debate about it, given the comments Jamie Dimon just made this week. But curious if there's an update from you in terms of any shift on your thoughts about offering crypto products or other access for your investors.
I mean, we're studying blockchain and the whole concept of crypto, and we believe that will play a very large role, whether it is a crypto governmental currency.
But are you still in the Jamie Dimon category of Bitcoin is worthless, or are you in the category that there's value here?
Well, I'm probably more on the Jamie Dimon camp, but I am fascinated by so many people's interest It's fantastic. I love the fact that more people are looking to invest in different things. I believe this is a very good, positive action. I'm not a student of Bitcoin and where it's going to go, so I can't tell you whether it's going to be going to 80,000 or zero.
But I can tell you that they're holding it. I can tell you that. He doesn't want to speak on it and give his endorsement, but I can tell you that we already know that Larry Fink and BlackRock do hold Bitcoin. So there is that now, isn't it? So I wouldn't think that they think it's going to zero. Now let's move on here to this latest observation from Jeremy Hogan to one of the points in the case. Let's check to what he says here. It's such a great point. He says, as to whether the SEC must respond to Ripple's 29,000 requests for admissions, I'm on the SEC side to a large extent, but it blows my mind that the SEC has not reviewed already and is arguing that it is unduly burdensome that it actually review the contracts it is suing about. I don't think you could say it any better than that. You know, I mean, this is really the point here, right? The SEC is suing Ripple, costing them millions every month, maybe weekly, I don't know, but certainly every month in defense. And they don't even want to go through and review the contracts they're actually suing about? Well, I tell you, what a mess this is. And the mess gets even bigger. Shout out to Digital Asset Investor for this one here. He says, we want remediation, all right. You're about to hear Gary Gensler talk about remediation and recovering losses and things of that nature from the SEC, he says, that destroyed billions in XRP investor value after 8 years of letting them think it was okay to invest while claiming to protect us. Join John Deaton's lawsuit against the SEC. There is no downside to joining that lawsuit. I encourage each and every one of you, it is pinned to the top of John Deaton's Twitter page, and join that lawsuit. There is no downside to be a part of that class action. All right, look right here and listen to this.
And whether Ether and Ripple that I spoke about earlier in the week are or aren't, the issue is still remediation. There's a lot of people, entrepreneurs, development teams in good faith, they did something, and now they realize they want to come into compliance. And so I think that's a really live question, and I think the community should engage with the regulators and say, here's the way here's a path of maybe retroactive registration and rescission rights. Those people that invested might need to be able to get out, and hopefully there's enough money there.
You know, this is really, I think, a great point by DAI here to really say that, hey, how about the remediation for the SEC not protecting investors from the jump and letting this go on for 8 years? That's why I tell you there's no downside to joining that lawsuit, let alone if we want to talk remediation and recovering anything. How about holding Ethereum accountable for the actual initial coin offering they actually did? Shout out to TAIG here, who shows us this right here. And this is amazing. The sale of ETH took place during the summer 2014. The foundation's development, it goes on to say, ETH was purchased with an investment of Bitcoin in a common enterprise with the Ethereum Foundation. Purchasers had a reasonable expectation of profit based on the appreciation of ETH, which was early on, it was heavily dependent on the efforts of the Ethereum Foundation. You know, the interesting thing about this here is that this is by Gary Gensler back in 2018. You know, I tell you, you know, a badge changes a man, apparently. And if you want to know how much, take a look at this. This is Tom Emmer right here, who knows exactly what Gary Gensler is doing. Listen to this clip here.
Or make someone like Ripple or XRP an example to try to essentially kind of secure the market through a little bit of fear.
Or worse yet, I mean, you've got a Fed Reserve chair who has suggested that if we create a central bank digital currency, there will be no need for cryptocurrencies.
For stables, right? Yeah.
It's interesting that you comment about the SEC and their, you know, the bandwidth that they might have to do this. Let's keep in mind, though, that what Chair Gensler and the SEC are doing right now is they're literally creating regulation that doesn't exist, by the way, through enforcement or through.
So now check that out. Now, what he's saying is through these decisions of suing this one and suing that one, letting this one through and not letting this other one through, is really setting precedent for them to really have control and jurisdiction over this entire space just by their regulation through enforcement. Keep listening.
Threatened enforcement.
Right.
So even though they may not have the resources, as you point out, to go after all these different things, how do you know if you're going to be the one, right?
Yeah.
If they're just suggesting and creating confusion in the marketplace, this was my whole point with the chair last week, that you can't do this with your conclusory statements out in the public. You literally could cause harm. And I use the example. You got somebody who offers a token. They agree with Chair Gensler that token is a security, right? That token offering. So they register with the SEC. And I asked the chair point blank, I said, under that scenario, once they've registered with the SEC, will they be able to trade on the New York Stock Exchange? Will they be able to trade on NASDAQ? And he started to answer, which was very frustrated, typical government speak. Well, it depends on, the New York Stock Exchange and what their rules are. Of course it does. But right now, under the rules that exist, no, they would not be able to trade on either of those exchanges.
And there you have it. And I mean, if that doesn't show right there that the vision, certainly from Gary Gensler, has not gone far enough to say, not only do I believe that the majority of the market is, is securities for crypto, but he doesn't have the solution in place to remedy that idea and notion going forward. It is really, really problematic. But you know what? There's more to talk about here, because this is the question I have put forth here, and I am hoping that we can get an answer from John Deaton or attorney Jeremy Hogan, or even anyone else that wants to participate. I think James K. Filan's taking a break for the moment, or attorney Seal, anyone who can contribute to this. But if Ripple wins on the fair notice motion, and they can use the fair notice defense, wouldn't this jeopardize Gary Gensler's vision of crypto being securities? Would Ripple winning fair notice set legal precedent for all other cryptos that follow? And if so, wouldn't this damage the ability for the SEC to continue to grab and do a power grab on this jurisdiction over crypto itself? So then one has to start to wonder and ask the question, if that in fact could be a very real scenario, and we're waiting for, an attorney to hopefully give us some direction on this, but if that were to be a very real scenario, because we have heard, I believe, Jeremy Hogan and others say that if they win on this, there will be other projects that continually say, well, we're going to use the fair notice defense too, because we were here and we didn't get any notice about what we are or aren't either, right? So if that were to happen, I think that really puts the SEC and Gary Gensler's vision at a real risk or threat of not being able to have purview over crypto. So then you have to wonder, would they settle before that ruling on that motion for Ripple's fair notice defense? Or would they possibly drop the case even if they thought that that was a real risk to what the SEC would really rather do, which is rule all of crypto? Yeah, this really does get deeper and more interesting, but there's more news here. Let's take a look at it. FATF's long debated crypto guidance is almost finalized. Ladies and gentlemen, we have determined here on this channel that it is absolutely the recommends come from the G7, the top down, G7, G20, and then all the other countries, because the G7 is made up of the largest economies of the world. The members of that committee are in fact countries. They make a general decision about a framework and recommends for regulation, and in this case, it's crypto. And they're about to finalize their recommends and release them, which they were supposed to do last summer, but now have pushed it to this month. So the quick take is the Financial Action Task Force says it will publish its final cryptocurrency guidance by November. Two controversial pieces are the travel rule, which we've talked about a lot here on this channel, and the other one, which is what makes up a virtual asset service provider, or a VASP, right? We will wait to hear those things, but I think once you see that released in November, you're going to see a lot of motion from the countries that participate in that. And we also know that finance leaders from the G7 met in Washington on October 13th, yesterday, to discuss central bank digital currencies and endorse 13 public policy principles regarding the implementation. It keeps moving here. And then we see none other than Andreessen Horowitz is moving in. They want to help. You better know something is coming when Andreessen Horowitz wants to move in and help establish these regulations, knowing full well that they made a crap ton of money off of Ethereum and the fact that it did an ICO and it got overlooked. But now they're here to help.
Crypto regulation is coming, and one of the biggest crypto players wants to get ahead of it. Alon Mui joins us now with that story.
But they do.
Well, good morning, Joe. The world's biggest crypto fund is coming to Washington to push for a new roadmap for regulation. Andreessen Horowitz Crypto is dispatching top executives to meet with officials at the White House, on Capitol Hill, and at government agencies. We got an early look at their agenda for an increasingly decentralized internet.
There's a critical need for a national conversation on how we're going to use technology in an open society. This is much larger than cryptocurrency. It's much larger than digital payments. This is about the future of the internet. It's about the next generation of the internet.
Oh, how thoughtful.
Now, there are some big ideas for what's known as Web3, better security, more control over privacy, more opportunities for more people. But there are also some specific policy priorities as well, like embracing stablecoins, writing rules based on risk, and possibly creating a new regulatory agency focused on crypto.
Right now, you have a dozen different federal agencies, all of which are trying to find their place in an increasingly complex and convoluted regulatory environment. And many of them are applying regulatory frameworks that are 70 or 80 years old to very cutting edge technologies. That just doesn't work so well.
Yeah. Well, why don't we just use the Brooklyn project? Because that's, essentially what Ethereum used to work with the SEC to get their project overlooked when it come to an initial coin offering. Maybe that would help, right? I tell you what. So what I do know is, tongue in cheek here, but what I do know is that something is coming. Something is coming. You can see everyone getting in line, and there is an alignment from an international level down to the U.S. domestic level. And I don't know what it is, but I'm excited to find out. That's going to do it for me. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe, leave a comment below, share with somebody you know. Check out all the links in the description box and the comment section. Ladies and gentlemen, Unstoppable Domains is connected to so many wallets now. It's crazy. All of their domains, you can actually move value without giving up your identity or information using your .crypto or whatever your domain is on that platform. And that is really exciting. Talk about Internet 3.0. And don't forget, too, the only thing better than buying crypto is buying tax-free crypto from I Trust Capital. I'll catch all of you on the next one.